Well,
Michigan.
okay.
Yeah. Limited, very
In
limited.
Colorado, we did not have a lot of people come in.
No.
So that all the libraries are aware of the books that we put on the list, so they will have extra copies on hand for parents to come in and read it. And we're also going to be training our parent coordinators on looking at these book lists in their own individual schools, and maybe even doing a little bit of what I just did, practicing how to read a book to a child, so it's not just about the story and the words, but what are the ideas that come out of it. Today's second grade lesson, I think, was wonderful because the kids have a lot of their own ideas. A book is not to be read word by word. It's really meant to create ideas and thinking and even a revolution if necessary. So certainly I would encourage all parents throughout the city to take advantage of this wonderful effort. And also we are going to have a lot more authors involved in this effort, but it's really my pleasure to introduce an author who's worked with me on other projects. John Cheska is a very well-known students author, but he's also one of the first authors who made it his business to start looking at boys reading and how we encourage boys to do more reading. So his book on Boys Read and Real Guys Can Write has been revolutionary, and his first books were also about revolutions, in my opinion, because he told the story of the three little pigs from the wolf's point of view. And I think that's really important because books are about thinking, books are about all kinds of ways to look at the world differently. So it's my pleasure to introduce John Cheska.
Oh, thanks, Carmen. That's me, John Cheska. I'm a kids book writer, an elementary school teacher here in New York for 10 years before I was a writer. And that's what inspired me, I think, both to become a writer and to become an advocate for kids becoming literate. And this program is so smart. It's one of the best things I've ever seen as a literacy program because it's so simple, it's so elegant, and it's so doable. All we tell people is like, let kids choose a book, let them be part of that process, let them read for enjoyment, which we're losing in a lot of places now. And the most practical thing is everyone gets a list, a grade leveled list, and you can read all these great books across all these genres. So I'm going to mobilize all my friends, all the authors I know. I've been doing this for 25 years now. Carmen and I met a few years ago. I don't think we should put a date on it.
No, okay.
Back in her school. And we've always just shared this passion for like connecting kids with a book in the best way. Not with a test, not with an essay they had to write. That was my son's classic line. He said, I'm not going to read another book. I'll have to answer a bunch of questions. I said, no, not that. You pick one you read, pick one you like. And that's where Carmen and I have always crossed. And just, we want to read that book that gets a kid in the back of the room just saying like, wait a minute, what is that? I want to find out more about that. Or that little guy today who said, a book about motorcycles. That's his idea of a great book. So we're going to give him that book. This is the place to find that book. So thanks for being here, guys, and look out for more of this. This is going to be a program I think other cities will try to duplicate. It's just so smart, and we can do it.
Thank you. I also want to take a moment to say thank you to the principal of this school, Heather Forster-Mann, and I knew the name this morning. Turns out she was one of my former students. No, not when she was a child. And
When she was an adult, how was that?
When I was an adjunct professor at Bank Street.
Okay.
She took the principal's training course with me, so she knows all about books, and she knows how much I love books and Book of the Month, and she actually introduced it here. So it's amazing. My life comes full circle. But I also want to congratulate her because I think she's put together a phenomenal school where thinking is evident everywhere. When I looked around that classroom, I was looking for evidence of student writing, it was all there. Evidence of kids knowing their books, it was all there. So, principal.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you. Welcome everyone to ps133. We're so excited to have you here today in our beautiful library to launch New York City Reads 365. We're extremely excited about this initiative because we think it's going to increase our students' reading skills and the ways in which we engage families in our school community. You know, as a parent and as an educator, it's just such it's so easy to have a book list already there for you across all the grades. They're new and exciting books, and what a wonderful way to get kids really excited right before the holidays about books and make it really easy for parents and educators. I would like to thank the Committee of New York City School Librarians in the amount of time it took them to read through hundreds of books to create the list, and we're grateful to the support of the Office of Library Services in providing school libraries across the city a selection of books to assist in ensuring that students have access to these resources. The goal here at ps133 is that every child will find at least a new favorite on that list. You know how exciting that will be. New York City Reads 365 challenges us to read every single day. So here at PS133, we already love to read. We read to persuade, we read to argue, we read to laugh. We sometimes, when we read, we cry. And we read to understand. So we're really excited about this initiative. Thank you, both of you, for launching this initiative as we create a new generation of kids who absolutely love to read. And I have one of my little second graders, Miss Gabriella, who loves to read. Go ahead, Gabriella, what do you want to tell us?
I like to read because a lot of books I like is like books that are emotional sometimes and rhyming books. Like I like Kim Jansen because she has a photographic memory and she's very good in school. So sometimes I make self-connection.
Thank you, Gabriella.
Thank you, and I think I did forget to say that these books will be sent to schools, so these books will be in school libraries, so that we can not only talk about them, but celebrate them. And I'm glad you mentioned about book buying, because for the holidays, parents always ask me, what can I get my child? And you don't need to spend lots and lots of money. Every child should have a book for every single holiday commemorating that holiday. My grandchildren have received a book on each of their birthdays, on each on Christmas, that designate something special about that book in their own lives. So I certainly encourage parents to consider books as presents, not just as tools for academic learning. My pleasure to introduce Joanne Simon, Assemblywoman from this district, and longtime friend.
Well, thank you. I'm just delighted to be here to support this effort. This past week, we celebrated the Summer Reading Challenge for the state. And so I'm going to maybe swipe a few of the books off the list to update the state's list, recommended reading list. But reading every day is such an important goal. And I think that the perfect person, the perfect approach to doing this is to team up Carmen Farin with John Cheska to make this become very real for children. I'm very excited about this program, and I'm so happy to be part of anything that helps our kids read. We know that if we're hearing words from very early childhood, that makes such a difference in a child's life and makes them want to read, and it opens up the world to them. And so this is all about reading and about opening up worlds for our children, and I'm just so supportive of it. I'm really very jealous.
Thank you. It's my pleasure now, as our closing speaker, to introduce Anna Comitante, under whose direction it's all possible. The beauty about having the wonderful team that I have, all my deputy chancellors and all their special assistants, is that I can come up with ideas, but I don't have to execute. I just say, this is a great idea, and plop, someone takes it all over. So this is the good thing about being at the top, but this is one of the people who makes it happen under the direction of Deputy Chancellor Phil Weinberg.
Thank you.
You can't take mine.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to say what an honor it's been to work on this initiative. We at the Division of Teaching and Learning, our bread and butter is supporting schools with high-quality materials and also supporting teacher professional learning. So we're very excited about New York City Reads 365 because it pulls everyone together who should be supporting a child's reading development, from families to the school to the teacher and to the students themselves, and getting us all on board with making sure everyone understands the critical importance of reading every day, because it in essence gives a child ownership of their own learning, and we really want to push that idea. So I thank you for coming here today, and we look forward to developing and building more resources to help our schools and our families support their children in reading every day, reading for life. Thank you.
I'll keep you up there, and if you guys have any questions on this initiative, we'll start there.
DOE funds that have been reallocated, or where does?
That's DOE funds.
Okay.
I'm
We
wondering,
are always open to donations. I want to be clear.
Don't miss this shot.
We can do this much bigger if we had more money to do it more, but, yeah.
I just, two things. One, just how many books are going to be going out to schools through this, and what might change kind of in schools and classrooms, as part of this initiative?
Well, I think the chancellor has been very clear that we're committed to independent reading every day. What we're saying now is we want to see independent reading happen in schools, but we also want to see independent reading happen at home. And I think the idea of student choice for what they read is critical here. The other thing, in terms of the materials that will be sent to schools, they will be sent to the school libraries.
Do you have a sense of how many books, though?
How many?
So it depending on the type of school. So for our high schools and middle schools, they're going to receive about 40 of the books. And for those, that's almost the complete list. For elementaries, the schools will have a choice of which 3 grade lists that they would like to have, and then they can supplement the rest of it with their own collection funds from the state.
And our hope, again, we're going to be training our parent coordinators, we're going to be training different people at the districts level so that this becomes an at-home activity as well as at school. Not all learning takes place from 9 to 3, hopefully not.
Yeah.
But giving parents, I just got an email the other day from one of my daughters who wants to give out presents. Mom, what do you recommend for a 12-year-old? I don't have to do that anymore. I'll just go to my book list and give it out. and that's really what we're hoping to do. The other thing is, there was a time in New York City and beyond where we had the classical list, like everybody had read, Charlotte's Web. It was a universal. We want to get back to the days where some books are universally read. So no matter where you are in the city, or what grade, I can say, I read this book. Like the book I read today, you can read that to a 4th grader. You can read it to an 8th grader. You can read it to high school, and everyone is going to get a different something out of it. So this idea of having some books that are universally read, I think, is really important also.
Yeah, the lists themselves are incredibly valuable because you have all these books to choose from, and a kid who's not literate is just overwhelmed by this much. We boil it down to try one of these, and if you don't like it, try another one. It's just so easy for them, and hugely valuable that work has been done for parents who might not be part of that book buying world too.
And also, a lot of them are nonfiction, which is something I've been pushing for a long time. And parents tend not to buy nonfiction books for their kids, and I'm a big buyer of nonfiction. Again, I'm a grandma of boys, and they tend to like nonfiction. So I think
supporting graphic novels,
That's
like
right.
our
That's right.
here, which are or Ulysses and Flora.
Right. So that's part of it. We will probably it'll be interesting to see how many of these books are bought on Amazon. Would be nice to get a percentage out of Amazon. But the idea is just to get everybody reading, and getting reading not to take a test, but getting reading because for the rest of your life it brings you certain pleasure. And I really want to, we need to do both, but the paradigm has to shift, reading for pleasure.
Yep.
I'm sorry if I missed this earlier, but I'm just trying to understand, because obviously you go into a lot of schools and there's already, posters and bookmarks and books. Is this trying to sort of make it a little more so every school has this kind of emphasis? Are there going to be different kind of books in the classrooms? Usually when you go in a classroom, you see it'll go by.
This is an addition to, but we're not usurping anything principals are already doing. This is not a mandate in the sense that everyone must do this. This is an opportunity for us to help schools to have new books in their library. Like I said, none of the books, and I'm a voracious reader of kids' books, none of the books I was handed did I know. I had never seen any of them.
Yeah.
So for me to see a new book, and I get very excited, I spent about an hour in a bookstore yesterday, and the only book I looked for was the one I didn't know the title of. So this gives people a chance to be a little bit more knowledgeable like we are and have a chance. But it's not about, I don't want to force one more thing. This is about enhancing, right? And, Principal Foster Mann is very clear that this is something else that can be added, especially after the revolution that I started in that class. I left my book behind so the kids could respond to what kind of revolution they would
We'll be on
start.
strike right now.
Right, exactly. And books should be conversation pieces. They should encourage dialogue. They shouldn't be about memorizing certain words. It should be about how do you encourage conversation. So this is what John and I have talked about for as many more years than we're going to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is a nice extension into the families that we always know, that's the best way to build that school spirit too, is include parents as part of this. Not just push it all off and say, school, you do that. You make our kids readers. We all have to work on that. And this gives them the tools to do it really easily.
I think more than anything, it's an awareness initiative for us so that everyone, we're all on the same page about the importance of reading every day. Like any skill, reading is a hugely important skill, and if you don't use it, you lose it. So we want to make sure that all students in New York City understand that reading is important, but also that they gain a love of reading and an awareness that that is how they can become independent, self-directed learners.
And I want to say, before you leave the press, make sure you look at the posters. They are delightful. They will get people excited and talking about it. And they're specific to boroughs, so the posters will go out by borough, and everybody can pick their favorite.
Great.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
So this is off topic?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm just curious, Chancellor, about the school in particular, because I understand that it's a very special school and that it sets aside a third of its seats for low-income and ELL students. So I'm wondering how you think that's working and whether you want to see it in other schools. I know Patrick's written about some principals who want to replicate this. So can you talk about that?
Well, this is a school that was set up specifically to straddle two districts. This is District 13 and District 15. It's co-located. Students are encouraged to come to the school from both of those districts, and it was part of a diversity effort, so certainly we welcome that. I said also that diversity is just not ethnicity, but more L students or a certain percentage, more special needs students. They have a District 75 program in the building with 12 classes. So this is a model, but this was a school that was allowed to start from scratch. If you came in, what you saw there was the old school, that the facade was the old school, but the rest of it is brand new. So we're open to lots of ideas that people give us in terms of how they would like to do this, and we're certainly looking at proposals that were written by different people throughout the city. And I know Joanne in particular and some of the people in this area of Brooklyn have been, moving in this direction, but a lot of it has to do from, where do you start and versus what do you do with somebody that's already there and how do you modify that?
So is the concern that if it's a school that's already there and you add these set-asides that some parents will feel excluded, or what's the hitch there?
Well, first of all, honestly, we'll never do anything without community input, which is one of the reasons some of these things are taking longer than others. Because we're having meetings upon meetings upon meetings. But I do think that when you have all the meetings, that when you finally make a decision, everyone has bought in. Rather than if you mandate something that then will cause a revolution and then people might strike. So we're trying to really get it done the right way, and I'm very hopeful that with fair-minded people, which I think people are in this particular area, that we will have some more options like this. But this one was unique because it was started with this framework in the first place, and I think that gave it a big advantage.
We have time for one more question.
Do you have any information? I'm not sure. I got very early information before I left my house. Was there some kind of ceiling collapse at a school? No, there wasn't. Okay, I'm sorry. Bad information.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Happens all the time.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Got it.
Oh, this is.
Got it.
Oh, this is. But I love that. That's what this is too. Is just like to find like a book that some kid will just be crazy about, like for life, right?
Yes.
So how should I make your name as? You want your first name? Everything else is. Oh no, it's the C.
Just happened to get that one.
Yeah, True Story of the Three Pigs was the very well, that's the other thing I want to do, like support this guy. Nadie le preguntó de eso.